Hey, also, from what we know, a announcement for the PlayStation 5 Pro is truly right around the corner. I mean, if we look at these times, how do we know that this is for the PS5 Pro? Well, that's a very interesting question you ask. So I was reading around in the news, and there was quite a mess up on Sony's part related to the announcement of this exciting technical presentation. Very broad language that Sony's putting out here, set for September 10, as we can see. And so they post this announcement on the PlayStation blog, and alongside it, they embed a YouTube video. And whoever decided to upload that video decided to call it PS5 Pro. And so, well, good going, folks, to you guys. Shout out. And I really got to say a shout out, honestly, to the people who catch these kind of things, because the video was up for maybe 5 minutes. Whoever is so on top of their game that they can pick this up, I'm impressed, I got to say. So, they caught that as PS5 Pro, and then as soon as this word kind of began to spread, someone at Sony was freaking out because the title then changed maybe 4 or 5 times. What should we call it? I don't even know. Just call it the technical presentation. And so it sounds like we're going to get some news on the PS5 Pro. Alongside it, there hasn't been any details leaked in terms of what its performance capabilities are going to be. How many, remember the PS4 Pro, how it had like 30 stacks, one on top of another? There's no guesstimate of whether we're going to go horizontal lines or vertical lines, or what it's going to look like exactly. But we'll be excited to see just the design, because I always feel like Sony is doing some just very interesting things to the visual aspects of their consoles. And so that's what I'm looking forward to seeing the most. There's a leaker, pretty reputable. His name is Brian Potter. And he was also sharing that, assuming these leaks are true, that he's getting information on, the Pro is set to be about €590, which is about $650. So assuming that is the launch price itself, I guess it depends on what it's capable of and what it will do for a gamer who's maybe has a PS5 and is looking to upgrade. So there's also been some anticipated DualShock updates potentially coming alongside the Pro. Would be interesting to see if they do especially updates for the battery life, because I own 4 PS5 controllers and all of them are pretty short on battery, I'll be honest. And outside of that, from the announcement and leak perspective, not super surprised, because PlayStation has since the beginning of the console history, right, has gone through many iterations over time, from the PS1 version getting standard upgrades to like, AV plugins, I think is what they're called, where you have the RCAs and you get video, and then the yellow, white, and red cables, right? To the PS2 getting a slim model, and the PS3 getting a slim model and a top-loading model, and PS4, of course, having the Pro, and so on and so forth. The PS5 now has been out since November of 2020, so we're about 4 years into the console's life cycle, which is pretty interesting, because the PS3 was about a 10-year generation roughly, and the PS4 was like, 7 or 8. So the PS5 is already like halfway through its total life cycle, and that kind of blows my mind. But really, there's kind of 3 reasons why I'm thinking to myself going, is this really that relevant of an announcement? The first one being the Xbox Series S, and a big part of it is that the console model is lacking, is probably the best term I can use, and it holds back any and every multi-plat game that comes out where the developers are trying to push hardware to its limits. Because when you're working with a console that exclusively exists as a way to play the newest games, but at the performance of last generation, essentially, there's really only so much you can do with that. And so that doesn't fare so well. Another big thing is I'll be wondering what the PS5 Pro is capable of doing that the PS5 is not. I mean, we've gotten a lot of games where you'll get optimization versus image quality kind of graphical choices, but at what point are we really going to get 4K 60 frames gaming experiences in the console space? Maybe the PS5 Pro is shooting for that. But the other kind of big thing that leaves me up in the air on this is that what titles are in the pipeline even? I mean, even Sony's leadership is acknowledging we don't really have much from an IP perspective that we're really working on. And so if you're dealing with multi-plat games, well, the PS5 Pro is not going to deliver that extra step of performance because of it being held back by its peers in this generation. And additionally, they're not working on anything internally that would just blow things out of the water, you know, in terms of the visual look or the technical capability and complexity of the game. So I guess that's something we're going to see over time. Of course, if enticing, I would totally buy a Pro. But as somebody who is usually an early adopter in every generation, you know, I'm usually trying to get my hand on the latest console and the latest games and so on and so forth. There's nothing really calling me about the PS5 generation. I mean, this shelf behind me, these are all games I just haven't played yet, and most of them are PlayStation 4 titles. A lot of them still have the wrap on them. So at the end of the day, if I do want to play games and the technical aspects are not flying forward, then really I'm looking back at the things that did entice me when I saw them sitting on the shelf, and I said, you know what, from a gameplay perspective, that looked pretty fun. So, announcement aside, yeah, not super excited, but I guess we'll see what happens, right? Curious. I guess by the time this video comes up, maybe we're going to start to see some news, but are you excited for the PS5 Pro? Would you get the PS5 Pro? Or maybe have similar concerns as I. So, all right, well, appreciate tuning in. See you next time, guys.